Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So today we are gonna see. I've come up with a new topic which I feel is very important to understand, which is the concept of shared VPC in Google Cloud. So uh, I'll walk you through how we can set up a shared VPC and how we can control um, a network, being a network admin centrally, a VPC. So here we can start. So let me go to my console, which is nothing but out here. So the prerequisite for having a shared VPC is uh, a domain. A domain is nothing but an organization in GCP. So here you can see I am having a organization setup, which is learn cloud with sort of .xyz. So I have just picked this up from uh, Namecheap. So if you go to Namecheap and if you search with any if you want to buy a domain, and if you don't want to spend too much money and just you want to take a domain for a POC, or just for a short term usage, you can select an XYZ domain, which comes very cheap. But if you want to spend more money, if you are okay to spend more money, and if you want it for a long term usage, you can go for .com domains as well. So for simplicity and uh, for price constraint, I have taken my XYZ domain, which you can get it from Namecheap. So I'm not going to teach you how to create a domain and how to map it with your organization and all that. Those things are out of the topic. Today we are going to discuss just the shared VPC concept, but just for your information, you need to have a domain, and you need to select, or you need to set up cloud identity from using this GCP console. So considering you have a domain, which I have right now, you can see learn cloud with sort of XYZ, which is having an ID. So I'm going to leverage this, so that the prerequisite is you need to have a organization, which is nothing but, you can see the organization being out here. So here in the organization, I have created project. I have created two projects. One is the host project and one is the service project. So why these two projects are required, right? Let me tell you first of all. So the host project, in the host project, we are going to create the VPC. So if I can show you diagrammatically how it's going to look, you can see this architecture of shared VPC. So region, I've selected US East 1. You can say US East 1, which is in GCP South Carolina. So here you can see there is a host project, and there is a VPC with a CIDR range, and of course you have a subnet, and this VPC should be shared with a service project, right? So you will not create any VPC in the service project, right? You might not have the authority to create VPCs in your service project if you want to regulate and control centrally. So it's kind of a central regulation and control of your VPC. That's the concept of shared VPC. I have created a VPC in this diagram, a VPC which is in the host project, but I am sharing this VPC to someone in the service project, or whoever has got access to service project. He or she or the group should be able to access this VPC, or can create compute instances or VMs on this VPC. Right, so you can see a dotted lines which I have not, which shows a virtual creation of a VPC in a service project, but it's just an extension of what was created in host project. So going back to the console, you can see there is and you can see there is a host project and there is a service project. So you can create projects once you have the organization, right, created in your GCP. So once more, I'm going to tell you, if you don't have an organization created, or you're just using a private account and you don't have a domain, you cannot perform this activity. So the most important thing is to create an organization, map it to a domain, and then you should be able to follow the instructions which I'm showing right now. So you can see I can create projects. So you can create multiple projects once you have organization created there. Without organization, you won't be able to create a project. So I'm in the host project right now, which is nothing but a service project, which I explained you in the previous slide or the previous architecture diagram, right? So I'm in this host project, and in the host project I will go to VPC. It got stuck. Let me refresh. The host project, VPC networks. Yes, so I already have a VPC with main VPC. So it's always preferred to not use default VPC which is provided by GCP, right? It's always better to create a custom VPC. You can see the mode equals to custom, not the default ones, because of several security reasons and your customization needs, etc., etc. So I have created a main VPC, which you can see. It's very simple to create a VPC. I have a subnet, right? I have a subnet, and you can see there is a public subnet on region US East 1 with a CIDR range as you can provide any one. This is my CIDR range, right? So this public subnet, how can I share with my other project, which is the service project? So what I can do is I have already created one and I have tested it, so I can create another subnet to show you how things would work. So one more thing you can do is to configure firewalls in the host project or the service project. So I have these firewall rules. You can see the allow SSH, allow HTTP. All right. So these are my firewall rules which are there right now. So I don't want my service project to create firewall rules, because I am governing this VPC centrally for security reasons. I don't want anybody come and create networks. That's not my goal, and that's not not what I intend to do, right? From the organization point of view, organization level. So I have a VPC, I have subnets. I can create a new subnet which I can call as private subnet. So region is very important. You should always be careful when you are selecting a region, and it should align with this service in the host project, right? So I can give it a range as 10.0.1. So you should make sure there is no CIDR range conflicts. So all these default values I'm accepting right now. It's up to you if you want to create a private or if you want to create a flow logs. But to save cost right now, I'm not creating flow logs, so I'm just keeping everything default, and I'm just creating this private subnet. Okay, so I have a private subnet right now. I have named it as private, but it might not be right. I'm not restricting any traffic right now. It's just for a demo, right? You can give any name. So now this is created. I'm keeping everything else as default. Static internal IP addresses, firewall endpoints, all these things. I'm not routes. I'm not going into all these things. DNS configuration, because these are out of topic. So now I can switch to service project. Now I don't want to create a shared VPC in service project. That's not. You will have option to create, but that won't make any sense, because service project VPC, shared VPC should always be set targeting the host project. So I can see VPC networks, yes. So okay, now I can create a VM. So let me see what all VMs are there. So service projects are basically nothing but the workloads. The workloads for my departments. I'm a e-commerce department or a sales department. I will have set of VMs which I need to use to run those applications, whether it's Java, .NET, Python, or SAP or whatever. SQL, Oracle. All these are workloads which I need to run in a service project, right? So I will create a VM. So there is already an existing VM which I use for my previous understanding and concepts. So so I can create a new VM saying that. So I can keep the default name. It's not a problem. So region, as I said, you should always check the region. So I've selected US East 1 because my VPC and the subnets are on US East 1. I don't want to deviate from the target region. So I'm selecting E2 micro, that's being the cheapest. I want to save cost. I want to save bills. So you can see I'll keep everything boot disk and everything Debian this is free. Everything I'm gonna keep as default. So here's an interesting thing. So right now you can see you are allowed to check these firewall rules, but that's not the case. That's not the intention, right? So I will scroll down to advanced options. I will select networking, right? I will delete the default network. I'll add a network interface. So here is an interesting thing to notice. Okay, it says you select a networks in this project or networks shared with me from the host project, blah blah. So it's saying you have two options, whether a VPC is in this project I did not create any VPCs in this project, but I have created a VPC, shared VPC on my host project. So I will select the second option. So once I select the second option, see that this is very important and this is the game changer. You can see automatically the two subnets are reflected, private and public, right? I can select private and everything I'm going to keep default. I'm not touching anything. Everything I'm keeping default. Disks, security management, sole tenancy, everything is default. Now I can go ahead and create this VM. Let's see. Okay, so it has created a VM in the private subnet. I can see it. Let's try to log in to see everything is fine, and the firewall rules of SSH and HTTP are fine. Yeah. Okay, so you are able to log into the VM and you can do your work. So that's good. I can exit the VM, it's not required. So you can see now that I have created a host project, I have created a shared VPC, I have configured a shared VPC, I have shared it to my service project, and then I created a VM targeting the subnets which are being shared or which are being broadcasted to me. So that's the beauty of shared project. Again, I would like to tell you that whenever you want to regulate or control or centrally manage a VPC with your policies, with your constraints, and you don't want your other teams to create those VPCs or control the access, network access, firewall rules, etc. This shared VPC concept is very handy, and it's awesome. So that was all about the shared VPC hands-on demo, which I wanted to tell you guys. Hope you like the video, and please subscribe and share your likes or dislikes, whatever. Thank you so much.